Hi everyone, hello. Today I have for you Steph Kelby, and Steph is the founder of Pure Savvy, and we work together on the skincare masterclass. And I wanted you to have a chance to share her journey, because it's been quite a journey. There's been lots of ups and downs. So Steph's agreed to come and chat with me. And hello, Steph, it's lovely to see you.
Hi, Melinda.
Hi.
And hi, everybody.
So Steph, Pure Savvy looks wonderful. So tell us about the message and how you got to the message with the brand.
It's quite an interesting journey because I have always worked in an office, in a corporate environment. I was a consultant. I lived away from home Monday to Friday. I flew around the globe. Everyone would think I had quite a jet-setting, glamorous career. What you would know from that is actually you just spend your days in an office and your nights in a hotel and then in a cab in between. And actually I always had a plan to have a business. I didn't really know what that business was. And I fast forward to 7 years ago, and I had a child. I had a daughter who was very allergic to every kind of ingredient on the market. So bottom balm, shampoo, baby powder, absolutely everything. Now, one of the times when I was actually a consultant, I had a prolonged period where I was stationary for a while, and I did an aromatherapy course. So I started thinking there must be something I can do. There must be some products out there that can help her. And there were, but they weren't very nice. And I thought, well, I could probably do better. So actually what started my journey was making stuff for Zara. My husband's allergic to a lot of things, so I was making soap for him. So actually my soap dinner is actually your books, Melinda, ironically, which I've never told you before. They're sitting behind me on a shelf. So I started making things for family, and then what happens is people go, can I have this? Can you do this? So I started with body lotion, everything else. And I started thinking, yet again, I'm neglecting myself. So for me, it was always about this myth of a work-life balance. You don't really have any, do you?
Right.
And I think as a woman, you tend to put yourself to the bottom of the queue in the pile, and everybody else comes first, and work comes first, and your child comes first, and keep everyone happy and balanced. So I then started making skincare for myself, and I made lots of creams, and I made lots of balms, and I made all sorts of things. And then I came on and I was always going to make that a business. So that was always the plan. But actually what I found doing lots of research is you really needed a niche. And I really couldn't decide on my niche. And I think that's probably because I started so wide. So I'd made soap, I'd made products for teenagers, I'd made products for small children, I'd made stuff for bigger children, I'd made stuff for men, I'd made stuff for women, and I'd made bath stuff, and I'd made body lotions, and I'd made skincare, facial care. And then you think, I can't be something to everybody. I didn't really know what I needed to be. And that's when I came on your course. And then that was really, really helpful. So we went through the work, didn't we, around audience. And I think, struggled around what is my niche. And then one day it just dawned on me that my niche is probably someone just like me who struggles to have time for herself, but who wants great skin. So I'm always multitasking in my day job, and I'm always multitasking at home. So why wouldn't I use multitasking body and face products? So things that do more than one purpose, or things that make your life so easy you wonder how you do without them. So that was the niche. It was around having sort of hassle-free skincare, having that multi-purpose, but also recognizing that time is your most precious commodity. You can't get time back.
Yeah.
But you want to spend time with people you love, doing the things you love, but you don't want to compromise your skincare. So that's where Pure Savvy was born.
So that's a very now message. I mean, people are constantly chasing for time now.
Always. Which is funny, isn't it? Because at the time when we came up with it, I mean, it's taken quite a while to get to this point.
Yeah.
Probably about 18 months ago, was it? I think.
Yeah, about that. But you always had a very clear idea as to how you wanted it to look. And I think one of the really big strengths is the distinctive branding, the use of orange, and how that's followed through on all your social media. So it's a really strong statement. I mean, I think you've achieved what a lot of people take a lot longer to achieve, and that is, as soon as an image appears on screen, you know it's Pure Savvy.
Yeah.
simply because of the styling of the posts and the colour and the way you've used that. Did you do all that yourself?
Yes, I did all of that myself. And it's interesting because when I started thinking about, and one of the pieces of work and where this came from is thinking back to the work we did about a vision board and having a clear idea who your customer is. And I think many people might be surprised who are watching this thinking that you look at my Instagram now and it looks like I really know what I'm doing. But Melinda will attest to the fact that my first vision boards were rubbish, absolutely rubbish. I knew who my target was. I just couldn't find a visual representation and I couldn't understand. I think I was trying to follow the crowd. And I would see what everyone else was doing, their beautiful Pinterest boards and their beautiful Instagram. And nothing seemed to grab me. But I tried to kind of, you get into that comparisonitis, don't you really, where you think about, oh, that must be good, it must be good. And actually, what I tended to find, I spent a long time getting the vision board right. And then my first Instagram post, so I recommend all of you watching to go to my Instagram and go right to the bottom of the grid. And they are quite poor, really. I would like to say they are pants. But that's the first time that I was on Instagram. I had no clue what I was doing. I just knew I had to get out there and start posting to get into it. And then what I thought to myself is, why am I struggling to think about what to put on Instagram when my vision board is a clear representation of the types of things my people are interested in? And it was marrying up the two of those that actually started to click. And the orange is a real central point. So when I did all of my audience analysis and target market, I went to people and asked about colours, and we talked a lot about colours. And purple and orange were the two colours that came out. Yeah. But what I did was I did a lot of research by going around stores, and I went round and looked at natural skincare, and everything seemed to be quite the same. And I wanted something that was different because my woman is bold and decisive and impulsive, and she wants something to grab her on the. If I walk past something, I just grab it. I go, oh, that looks good. I'm going to have that. And from my women who have quite a disposable income, they're not going to worry, can I afford it? So I wanted something that really stood out. So that was central to the branding. And then when I went on to Instagram, actually, and I think one of the most important lessons is to have a plan. I don't plan out. I have planned out well in advance. And then sometimes I don't. And I would like to be more consistent, but I also juggle a full-time job. So it's quite difficult to think about it. But what I do is if I have a theme about what happens on a Monday, what happens on a Tuesday, what happens on a Wednesday, a Thursday and a Friday. Saturday and Sunday's open season. I don't have a plan for that. But effectively, people will know that on a Monday, I'll have some kind of motivational mantra. And I'll have a woman in a business shirt. On Tuesday, there'll be a top tip, and it's usually around time saving. And on Wednesday, I have my orange crush, and so on and so forth. So effectively, if you come into my page on a Wednesday, you know you're going to have Orange Crush Wednesday. I might not post on a Tuesday, but I always post on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives some consistency. I'd love to be able to say I post 4 times a day and everybody else all these times, and I do lots of analysis. I don't have time, but what I try to do is at least post 3 times a week onto social media.
So the name, because you've had huge challenges around now we brainstormed this on the board, didn't we? And I think I came up with the one that caused you all the trouble, which was Naked Savvy. Yes. And you went ahead with the branding, got everything all tickety-boo, and then you went to trademark it and it was challenged. So perhaps you'd tell that story.
Yes, so it's interesting, isn't it, when you have when you've identified the niche and you have a really clear idea of what the brand's going to look like, and you can't find a name. And I find a lot, and I see a lot on your Facebook page about people trying out different names. And I think I said on one of your posts, on somebody's post actually, that I had 2 names for a while because I still couldn't decide on 2 names. And so I tried them. I tried them with copy and I tried them on my vision board. But we chose Naked Savvy, and Naked for us represented that stripped back approach. It wasn't around being naked. But I thought I could have great fun with branding.
Bold, totally.
And I was really, and in fact, it was stripped back. You're not having, and then savvy because the women are savvy. So that was where it was. And as you say, I went to the branding agency. We did lots of branding. Interestingly, the branding agency didn't like Naked Savvy, if you recall. And they said they could come up with something a lot better. And fast forward 3 months and they couldn't. And that's quite interesting. And lots of people said, oh, that's an interesting name. And I said, I want it to be Stop in the Street, so you can, you'll remember that name whether you like it or not. But actually, as you said, we went through trademarking, and with the trademark process, you have 2 months when it's been published until you hear back. And so I didn't press play on the branding until we get closer and closer and closer to that day. And as I thought we hadn't heard anything back, we would be safe. And actually, I was due to get the results of the branding, the trademark, on the Wednesday. And at 5 to 5 on the Monday, I got an email. Yeah, I got an email from trademarking to say we've had a objection. And then in the registered post the next day, I got a letter from a very large global corporation who I probably shouldn't name, but
why? Let's name them and shame them.
Let's name them. They're L'Oreal. And I'm not the first person to have a trademark dispute with L'Oreal, but I will say, Melinda, that when I sell Pure Savvy, I'm going to add an extra $1 million on for if it's L'Oreal.
Absolutely.
So they sent, and if anybody's had any history of trademarking disputes, they sent a very bullying letter. And I think, as a day job, I work in lots of legal contracts and documentation. If I hadn't have done that, I would have been really frightened by the letter, because they really were frightening. I entered into a lot of email exchanges and phone conversations with the lawyer to see if we can come to some compromise. I could have Naked Savvy as all one word. I could do some
because their claim was that they use Naked. They have a skincare. They own the word Naked.
They own the word Naked.
Which is,
Yes. Yeah. This is just ridiculous and abhorrent that you can trademark a word, but they had done. No one had opposed it. And actually, for anybody interested in why they've got Naked, it's it's Urban Decay's Naked eyeshadow palette. So one of my arguments was, well, it's eyeshadow. It's completely different to skincare. No can do. Even the logo was totally different. I said no one would differentiate me. I said, look, I'm a little startup. Who knows if I'm going to make this? This is ridiculous. We're a big bullying giant. But effectively what it boiled down to, they said that if I could go ahead and I could go to court, they would defend it vigorously. And I sought external legal advice, and they said, you probably would win, but it would probably cost you 50 to 60 grand. And so I just don't have 50 to 60 grand to waste. So that's where we came back to Pure. And funnily enough, most people now say they like Pure better.
Yes. Well, things happen for a reason.
Yes, exactly.
Things happen for a reason. So how did you feel when that was going on? I mean, that's a big setback when you sort of invested all that time and creative energy into something and got so close with your branding. How did you overcome that feeling that, someone had put a brick wall in front of you?
Do you know what? The initial feeling was one of just like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can get over this. And then immediately that kicks in. It's like, right, you think I can't do this. I'm going to show you I'm successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of those things about me personally is if someone says I can't do something, I'm going to damn well make sure I can and show them I can. And I think it is mindset that's one of the things that, for anyone watching, mindset is the most important thing. And in case everybody thinks I've got it nailed, I haven't. I have weeks where I think, oh gosh, I can't do this. I mean, packaging was another of my hurdles. I probably should have launched a year ago and the packaging's put me back that way. But then I keep thinking, actually, I've probably got a better product in terms of the packaging and the design than I would have done. I've got a better name. And actually the year extra prep makes me much readier for it.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking about the packaging scenario with you. And a lot of my clients actually have a vision of what they want their packaging to be. And in most cases, not in most cases, but in many cases, it's completely unattainable for a small producer because you've got to commit to volume. And if you want anything that's sort of out of the order in terms of shape and style on your basic bottle, you've really got to be prepared to buy tens of thousands of stock before you go, which is hugely risky so I think, if I'd have gone the round with you again, I would have tried to persuade you to drop the vision, because you can focus so much on that it becomes a roadblock that you can't get beyond.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And do you know what's interesting?
The word perfectionism comes to mind.
That's true. I'm a total perfectionist, which in this line of business is interesting. And I was really hung up on that packaging. And actually, when I look back now, I look at the packaging, and I packaged them up today to send to some retailers as samples. And there's nothing wrong with my packaging. And when I show it to people, people go, wow, your packaging's amazing. Your labels are fantastic. I was never going to have labels. I was going to have it sprayed on. And for me at the time, when I and it was earlier this year when I finally came to the conclusion, I'm going to have to give up on this dream. It's just not working out for me. I've tried almost every supplier in the world. I've been everywhere. The whole of China is kind of turning out, trying to give me, and if I ordered 100,000 of them, they would make the part to make packaging. But I really, really resisted changing that. And then when I made the switch, I was convinced it was going to look rubbish. I really was. And it was when I went to the beauty exchange in June, where I went with bottles and jars, which were almost about right in terms of the labels and the boxings. And everyone said, oh, I love your packaging. In their head, they've never seen what's in my head or what's on. Yeah. So they've never seen anything else. So they were like saying, this is amazing. And I'm like, is it? I was...
you're not alone. You're not alone, Steph. I think people often do this. And sometimes they do it. It's almost a subconscious resistance. They've reached a point of fear, and they know they're going to have to make a commitment. And so they focus not making a commitment on the packaging. You know, it's, exactly. I mean, I had one client who spent 16 weeks with me and could not find the amber bottle that she'd visualized in the size that she wanted it, and ended up not going ahead because she so freaked herself out about it. It's quite common. And really, you know, you can stick an elastoplast on it with your name, and if it's the right stuff and the right message and you're a strong enough entrepreneur to promote it, it won't make any difference.
No, and I think the funniest thing is everybody changes packaging at certain points. So if it really isn't right, although to be fair to and to be brutally honest, I did have this fear thing, and it's right of you to remember to think about that, and it's right for people who are watching this on the replay to realise that you will face fear all the way through. So I got to a point where I thought this is actually working really well, and at the point I needed to press go on the boxes and spend quite a lot of money ordering a lot of boxes, the fear kicks in, doesn't it? And you think, oh my gosh, I'm now going to order, and I hate to say it to freak people out, but I've got 18,000 boxes sitting in the back room. So,
well, I've also you've got to sell them now. You've just got to sell them now.
Exactly, and I've got 30,000 labels. Well, give or take a few, because obviously I've made some and sent some out. But effectively, that is now my driving motivation, that I've got this. I now have to sell.
Okay.
And this is going to work.
mean, there is actually, so these are not printed bottles. These are plain bottles with a label on.
Yes.
Have they been labelled already? Have they all been labelled?
No, I have.
Okay. So, I mean, just as a point,
the manufacturing.
You could actually sell some of them.
Yes, I could. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, you could sell some of them. You could put them on eBay and sell them as a job lot. So there is a safety net there with cosmetic bottles. But so now we're there and we've got the products. And how many products did you produce in the end? Because again, I think we had to keep you down in terms of numbers.
It's worth saying I have 7 products. I have 7 products that have gone through stability, all of the cosmetic testing, all the microbial testing. And I have 7 lots of boxes and bottles and jars and labels. I will not be launching with 7. I don't think, she says. But effectively, I wanted them ready because although some people say everyone has a hero product, interestingly, when I've been sampling my target audience, people like different things. So they're very much of a similar ilk, my customers, potential customers. But when they're doing the samples, people go, actually, I have a particular issue with dry eyes in the office. So I'd really like your micellar spray or your eye serum. Some people are saying, I got dry hands, and dry skin, so I'm going to use your multitasker. So I've went down the line of producing the 7, thinking, if I've got the 7, then I can easily...
Have you actually had the products all made?
No.
No, I was going to say no.
No. Yes, that would be a step too far to be frightening, even for me. So I'm making the product at the moment in terms of getting out samples ready. I have a contract manufacturer lined up.
That was a journey as well.
And that was another journey. If we had extra time, we had hours, we could arrive. So it is worth saying to people, you will find hurdles, and there will be journeys all along the way. But I do have a contract manufacturer who is very, very keen for me to order the products. But it is a very large quantity, and my plan at the moment is to ask them to produce 1 or 2, and the rest would be done by me. And there's a couple of my products which is more difficult to do when you haven't got a temperature controlled environment. And so I would probably get them to do those. So,
but you costed them according to what your contract manufacturers quoted you.
So I've completely costed everything according to them, and now I'm slightly faster at making it, but my ingredients cost me more. So it kind of, when you do your time motion study, it works out about the same.
Yeah.
So everything's costed on contract manufacturers. I have also costed in warehousing, although I don't plan to use warehousing to start with. So again, just trying to make sure that I've got all the costs in.
Yeah. So the guys aren't up to the logistics and the costings yet, but they'll understand what all that means a little later on. Yes. Now the big lessons, every week there are huge lessons, as you know. Yes. So we're ready to press the button. What next? What's your route to market? So
I'm setting up my own web shop, which I do not anticipate will sell very much, but I need it there to have a presence there. My preferred route to market is retailers. I did have a plan when we worked together. My plan was a House of Fraser type store,
yes,
which in the current light of stuff isn't perhaps the best route to market. However, I still believe that retailers offer me, and I guess it depends on people's visions of where they see their business ultimately being. For me, it's about having a big business with large turnover and selling high volumes. So for me, the only way for me to scale up to do that will be to use retailers at this point. And so that they would drive the volumes for me. And then, so I'm in contact with a couple of retailers, and I've sent out samples today. When I come back from my holiday, I plan to send out, now that I have retail ready packaging, I plan to do a massive initiative to try and get retailers on board.
Right, because selling is your forte, isn't it? Selling is about you've got no fears around selling.
No, I've got no fears around selling. I think what's interesting and is a challenge for me is getting to the right people, and that's the challenge for everybody.
Yeah,
I think when I've got the person in the room, I'll be fine to sell to them. It's just actually getting that person interested.
So have you outsourced? I mean, we know you've outsourced your branding, you've got contract manufacturers lined up. Is there anything else that you've outsourced because you're working and you've got a kid, and how are you managing your time? Anything that you plan to outsource?
Yes, I should say I don't outsource anything at the moment. I have engaged an accountant who thinks it's hilarious that I then do everything. But I haven't started selling yet. So once I start selling, then the accountant will kick in. And I will definitely need someone who's a very detail-oriented person, because I am much more big picture.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I know with a VA, because I'm not detail-orientated, I've got to have a VA that's detail-orientated. She might, it might grate on me sometimes that I'm being bullied to give detail, but it's just really important that you have someone cover the skills that you haven't got, and important to recognize that in yourself, I think. So
yes, I mean, I think it's important, and I've been thinking about this a lot, because obviously I have to do everything myself at the moment. I think once I start selling, that will be the time I'll be able to get somebody in. I think at the moment I'm going to I think it's important to focus on the things that I'm not very good at or that I don't enjoy doing. Because if I don't enjoy doing it, I won't enjoy being in the business. And interestingly, I've come to the conclusion after my getting up, so this is how you manage time. I was up at 3 o'clock yesterday morning making products so I could send out today. And I've come to the conclusion I don't particularly enjoy the making of the products anymore. And that's an interesting one.
That hits in very quickly.
Yes.
It's in very quickly.
I just think I couldn't sit here making them. So for me, that is got to be the thing that goes out quicker, because the fact I'm not enjoying it is just
it's all very great and novel, and you think, I remember helping someone design a soap workshop, and it was all pretty and neat, and she'd visualized herself stirring these pots and melting, it's the dirtiest job. You do it in any sort of volume, it's the dirtiest job in the world. And it was getting her out of do it in a garage, not in a little cottage kitchen,
exactly.
It's quite interesting how
And
we have a fantasy about it, I think.
Yes, and I enjoyed when I was formulating, coming up with all the formulations, absolutely enjoyed tinkering about then, but that's not the same as oh gosh, if I had to get up and make this eye serum every day for the rest of my life, it just isn't. But
also with the formulation, if I remember the first formulations that you did had hundreds of wonderful ingredients in.
Yes.
And I think you have to do a reality check around that as well, when you start looking at what things cost.
Yes, and I have some very expensive ingredients in my formulations, which does drive the cost up, but they are not there with gay abandon. They're there for a particular reason, and they're not there in huge volumes. There's not loads of different ones. So the formulations are quite tailored, and every ingredient is there for a particular potent reason. Yeah.
Okay, so where are we going to be this time next year when I interview you again?
Well, I shall.
When I'm going through your secretaries and interviewing you again.
Yes, you're going to get an interview, will you? No, you will. I'll reserve a space for you. I hope that by then, and I shouldn't say I hope, I should say I will. Given that I'm going from a standing start, my plan is that I will have turned over in 12 months £50,000. And I think that's a realistic, I should say it seems quite pie in the sky for a lot of people, but my target is 50,000. And I hope that I will have taken on at least one member of staff. Interestingly, because it's interesting people like my Instagram page. I really dislike doing social media.
Right.
But there's no better person to tell your story than you.
Yes.
So I think in a year's time, I should still be doing it. I'd really like to increase my videos and sort of Instagram stories and start to introduce people to me and to the ingredients. And so that's probably in a year's time, I think you'll see that I've been more prolific on social media in a different way. And I will be in 3 online retailers and 2 bricks and mortar stores.
Right. And what about awards? Are you going to go for any of the awards?
Yes, I very nearly applied for one earlier this year, but you needed to have launched by August, and I knew I was going to miss the window. So that's my next plan, is to look out and apply for lots of awards. That will help hopefully raise the profile. Because
it really is about PR. It's this vicious circle between buyers seeing you out there, so that they're convinced that you're going to sell when you're in their store. So they need to see you, have total evidence. Well, you've done all the right things. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks for your help. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I'm sure that everybody got a huge amount from that. And you're going on holiday tomorrow, so have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you.
And come back, and we want to see the launch. We want to see the launch live.
Yes, I've got quite exciting things planned. So collaborations with other beauty brands that are not competing. So there's lots of things planned coming up. Great. But if any of your people would like to just chat, then I'm more than happy to.
That's lovely. That. Thank you, Steph.
I've got so much time, haven't I? Sucker for punishment. Anyway, lovely to talk to you, Melinda.
Okay, thanks so much.
No problem. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.